Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central, to talk with our distribution partners and now also our clients. We spend a few minutes each weekday morning talking about strategies, tips, techniques, sharing success stories, and supporting each of you. As one of our branch managers, our clear and explicit goal is number one, for you to generate a minimum of $100,000 a month in earned income by being a branch owner. That's our clear goal. Not too good to be true. That's helping at least 2 clients a week, 8 clients a month. We know your gross income should be right at $12,000 per client. Take 8 times 12, we're at 96,000. We'll round it off and we'll call it 100,000. So keep that in mind. We are here to assist you in generating at least $100,000 a month through your branch office. With that, we need to be able to be efficient and effective at helping clients improve their financial literacy and helping clients get what their goal is. And that is a minimum of $100,000 capital raise. So today, we're going to talk about creating a complete client file. So branch offices are positioned to help others improve their financial literacy. That's a big part of what we do, isn't it? And access a minimum of $100,000 guaranteed to start or grow a business through the credit and funding program. Today's focus, as I mentioned, is to take a deep dive into the client file so we can make sure that we're getting these clients onboarded as quickly as possible. So you might ask, well, what goes into a client file? The branch office, you're responsible for collecting 4 items. How many? 4. 4 items for each enrolled client. And then once you've done that, then you're going to schedule a call with us so we can review the client file and create a funding plan. So each client that you generate, it starts with you creating a complete client file. 4 items. We're going to go through that in detail today. Once you have those 4 items, then we'll get together and create a funding plan for the client. Well, why don't we create a funding plan first? Well, we need the data, right? We need the data from the client to understand what their baseline information is. So a lot of times you'll have clients that will want to re-engineer the process. They'll want to know how much funding they're going to get, what their terms are going to be. They're going to want to know a lot of details before we have a client file. It doesn't work that way. We can't give them accurate and honest projections until we have their data set, which is obtained through the client file. So once you have a client file, then what we're going to do is schedule the one-on-one, which I just mentioned. And during that one-on-one, the first thing we want to do is to look for first tranche financing. Now, not every client will qualify for first tranche financing. Many will, but we do want to identify what do they qualify for right now. I was working with Eric, who's on the training, and Veronica this morning. They have a new client that came aboard, wonderful lady, and her credit's okay, but she has low income, poverty, food stamp level income. We were able to do a few things and get her $25,000 for first tranche financing right now. She'll get that this week. From there, we'll be able to progress forward to the end goal. So the point is, not all clients will get $100,000 from their first tranche financing. Some will, many won't. But we're going to take them from where they're at and then create a plan to get them to where they need to be. So create a client file, which we'll go through. Then we visit, see what they qualify for right now, then build their file to get them to where they need to be for their ultimate capital raise goals. Make sense? All right. So there are 4 items that go into a complete client file. This is the role of the branch, your role. You want to obtain a client agreement. We'll talk about each of these in a moment. You want to collect client payment, whether it be upfront or financed. You'll want to help them get a soft credit pull authorization. and then complete a personal financial statement. So these are the 4 items for a complete client file. And again, we're going to talk about each one of these today. All right, well, let's start with client agreement. So client agreement. When you enrolled as a branch office, and again, thank you for doing so, we sent you a branch office onboarding email. If you didn't see it, don't see it, check your spam or let us know and we'll resend it to you. Don't mind at all. Within that onboarding email is a link to a Microsoft Word document that is an editable client agreement. So that's actually the agreement we use. It's not just a template off of the internet. It's literally what we use for our direct clients. But from that, you're going to want to edit it. You're going to want to make changes. Well, what changes would you want to make? Well, at least you need to change it to being an agreement between you and them. Because in our branch model, it's what we call our private label. The contract is between you and the client. Separately, we have an agreement with you to provide the programming. So you need to take that editable agreement and make changes to it, at least to be your information, your branding, but also you could change pricing. There's 2 elements of pricing, as I think you know, one of which is the refundable setup fee, and the default is $1,999.99. You can make that more for your clients. You can make that less for your clients, and you can even change it for each client. That's up to you. The second element of pricing is the performance fee that clients pay after their capital raise. By default, it's 10%. You can make that higher. You can make that lower. Some of you are going at 20% instead of 10. We have, I think, one of you that's charging 50%. It's up to you. Doesn't matter to me. It's between you and your client. So step 1 of creating a client file is having a client. And that getting a client means that they're under agreement. We provide you an editable template. You modify it, and then you're going to use most likely some sort of e-signature software, Adobe, DocuSign, FormStack, whatever it is that you want to do to get them under contract. So in summary, for step 1, client agreement, you need to get the client under contract, and then you're going to upload that into your branch Dropbox. If you don't have a branch Dropbox, let us know, and we will provide it to you. For instance, Brenda, who's on training this morning, she emailed us, probably was last night, I saw it, I think this morning. She said, hey, I don't have my Dropbox. So what did we do? We got her Dropbox set up. So sometimes we'll set up the Dropbox proactively. Other times it's once you have your first client. So she has our first client under contract now. But regardless, let us know if you don't have the branch Dropbox, and we'll provide you a link to it. It's like a virtual file cabinet. It's the portal that you'll upload client files into. We don't want to be emailing files back and forth. So that is step 1, or the first component of a client file. Does anyone have questions on that before we move to the second item, second of 4? Pretty straightforward, right? So again, if you want to change other things in the client agreement, we're sending you an editable format. You can change anything that you want, but it's legally compliant as it stands. If you go in and you start changing a bunch of the language, then frankly, I wouldn't recommend it. The general language should be good to go, but we can discuss it. You obviously should be very familiar with what's in your client agreement, because it states what your promises are to your clients and what your clients' promises are to you. Okay? Make sense on client agreement? Okay. So in general, we do not work on client files until they're under contract. So they need to become a client of yours. So we don't do work for prospects. You and I together, we work on client files. All right, let's move forward. If you have any questions or comments, post it into the Q&A, question and answer of Zoom. It's like chat box. All right, number 1, I think we're all on the same page. Pretty straightforward. Number 2, client payment. A little more complicated. On client payment, you, the branch, determines what the refundable setup fee is for each client. We talked about that briefly before. The default is $1,999.99. We discussed that before. Who collects the money from the client? You do. You're the branch. You're the CEO of your business. When a client contracts with you, which they did, right? That was up in step 1. They have promised to pay some amount to you, which is stated in the agreement. You determined that, not us. You did. And so then they need to pay. The refundable setup fee is due upon enrollment. It's paid up front. Now, it's refundable through the grant, which isn't the subject of the discussion today, but they need to pay. Now, if they don't want to pay the refundable setup fee up front or can't pay it up front, then there's financing available. We've had a separate training where we went in great detail of it. But if you want to offer financing terms to the client versus upfront payment, then it's a structured approach. The structured approach is then you would collect a down payment from them. So they would still pay you $250. And then we can facilitate financing the rest of it, 0% interest, $250 a month, due monthly, first of each month, for the remaining $1,750. So they can either pay you up front, or they can make a $250 down payment and make monthly payments of $250. So those are the action steps, but we need to dig a little deeper to make sure we're clear what this means. In scenario 1, they're paying you up front. And again, I know you can change that amount, but we'll just reference the standard amount, which is stated here. So scenario 1, you collect that money from them. How do you collect it from them? Up to you. You're the CEO of your business. Do you want to collect MasterCard, Visa, American Express, PayPal, Bitcoin, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, chickens? I don't really care. It's really up to you and them how you want them to pay you the refundable setup fee. Scenario 2 is if they're going to finance it. And if they're going to finance it, as we just stated, you're going to go ahead and collect the down payment. There's always a down payment, $250. And then we can set up financing for the rest of it. Well, how does that happen? Well, that's number 2 right here. There's and I emailed this form to each of you, so you have these links. Obviously, you're not going to want to try to remember that or write that down, but I sent you this as a reminder for today's training. So once they're under agreement, then they need to pay the refundable setup fee. They can pay it in whole, or they can finance it. If they're going to finance it, they pay you $250 down payment, and then you have them complete the financing agreement for the rest. Who has questions on what we've covered so far? We're halfway there. We've covered the agreement, step 1, client payment, step 2. Any questions, comments, concerns on that? Okay, let's move forward then. If you do, just type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. Now, real simple one, soft credit pull authorization. We have gone through the rigors of being approved by Experian to do soft credit pulls. We had to submit, we had to go through background checks, both credit and financial. They came out to our office. They had to walk through the office and do the office inspection. We've done all that. So we meet that criteria. And so we want each client to complete a soft credit pull authorization. So we have that as part of the data set to figure out what they qualify for now and what may need to be done to get them qualified for the full capital raise. So there's a specific link. I didn't mean to click that link. So this link was included in your in your branch onboarding email, and it's included on this reference sheet that was emailed to each of you this morning prior to our training. So get the client under agreement, collect payment. Until they're under agreement, nothing else needs to happen. Once they're under agreement, nothing needs to happen until they've paid, either in full or part. Once they are under agreement and have paid in full or part, $250 down, then we move on to the soft credit pull. Very, very simple. This feeds back to us directly, so we'll have it as part of the data set when we have this one-on-one call with you. It does not provide the credit report back to them. So just walk them through completing this step. It'll be in our files, and then when we have our one-on-one, we'll incorporate it into our planning discussion. So that takes us to step 4 of the 4, the personal financial statement. We had a detailed training, almost an hour-long training, where we went through in detail how to complete the PFS. You can access that prior training using this link. I've been a bit disappointed in some of the personal financial statements that some of you are submitting. It is indicative that it's illustrative, I should say, that some of you are not diligently reviewing that training, because what you're submitting in some cases is an incomplete PFS that frankly is showing either a lack of attention to detail or a disregard for the training. So I ask you to be thoughtful and considerate and diligent in watching this training. It's not rocket science, but when we see PFSs come in that are incomplete, it's a poor reflection on you, because you're the gatekeeper. You're the one working with the client. We need a complete PFS. So what is the action step on step 4? Have the client complete a PFS and then upload into the Dropbox. So in summary, we've talked about the 4 items for a complete file. 2 of those items you're uploading into the branch Dropbox in advance of us having our one-on-one powwow. You're going to upload the client agreement so we understand what we're working with. We're not going to contact the client, but we need to know what the client agreement is so we can do our part. And then also you're going to upload into Dropbox the personal financial statement. You're going to collect the client payment. The deal with our branch relationship is you keep half and you send us half. It's a beautiful model. It's a 50-50 split. So obviously you will forward that to us. The soft credit pull, a little bit different. It's just essentially a link that you have them complete. So some of you are enrolling lots of clients, lots and lots and lots of clients. That's fine. We have a number of you that are on track to enroll between 20 and 50 clients this week. That's great. So regardless of how many clients you enroll, one or many, then we need to have these one-on-one calls. Every client deserves the discussion that we need to have once you have these 4 items complete, because we need to see what they qualify for immediately, and then also create a plan to get from where they're at to where they need to be. So who has questions, comments, concerns on the client file discussion? All right, so Sylvia asked best email, and I'm glad you asked that, Sylvia. Here it is. This is a good email. And then the second question that Sylvia, one of our branches, asked is, in actuality, aren't the fees collected as a branch? Oh, okay, great. So you're right. There's a difference between gross income and net income. You're determining what your gross and net income is, Sylvia, and other branches, because you're determining the pricing. But as from a gross income perspective, that comes from the 2 variables that we've discussed. The first of which is the refundable setup fee, which is refunded but not out of your pocket. That comes from the grant. And then secondly, the performance fee, which we've not really discussed today. That's after each tranche of funding. But you determine the gross income. We split that consistent with our branch license agreement we have with you, 50-50 split. So you're right, there is a difference between gross income and net income for your branch, but I think that's true for any business. And then she also asked about Zoom training notes. Well, we record most of these daily trainings, and then we put them up on our YouTube channel so you can reference later if you wish. Who else? Thank you, Sylvia, for your questions and comments. Who else has questions, comments, concerns on the client file discussion? All right, so Timothy's asking about production expectations. So that's right. So Timothy, we have an agreement together that we're going to support and train each of you as branches. And what you've promised is that after a 30-day grace period that you'll enroll at least 2 clients a week, 8 clients a month. So we've got a 30-day grace period to kind of ramp up. Now, many of you don't need that. Many of you are enrolling clients right away, but there is a 30-day grace period in the branch license agreement. And then after that, then of course, the expectation is that you'll be active, and active is defined in the branch license agreement as helping at least 2 clients a week. All right, Mr. Boyd has a different question on the 50-50 split. So I'll summarize, but certainly go back and look at the first page, which is Exhibit B of your branch license agreement. It states that we do a 50-50 split of the refundable setup fee, although the grant refunds 100% of it, so none of that comes back out of your pocket. And then also, Mr. Boyd, you'll see that the Exhibit B of the branch license agreement states that we do a 50-50 split of the performance fee, which is collected after each tranche. So if you want to see the details, you can see that. All right. And Brenda says she only wants the MP4s. Well, in general, our trainings that we do daily are meant for you, and so you can join them live or access the YouTube afterwards. We did recently create a 4-minute overview, a generic video that's great for you to use with your branches, and we did offer each of you, if you wanted the raw data, the MP4 version versus the YouTube version, to email us and let us know. All right. Lon signed his first client agreement yesterday. Awesome job. And so, Lon, if you have your first client, then the question is, do you have all 4 of these items? So, Lon, do you have the client under agreement? Lon, have you collected the client payment? Well, I happen to know that you did collect a down payment from the client, and you send us our half. Great job. So with the rest, then you need to get them to complete the financing agreement. I believe, Lon, that you've not done that. I could be mistaken, but I believe that you've not had them complete the financing agreement. So you would need to do that, Lon, and anyone else. Then, of course, you need to make sure, Lon, that you've helped them complete the soft credit pull, the personal financial statement, upload the PFS into the branch Dropbox, upload the agreement into your branch Dropbox, and then schedule a one-on-one so we can implement. So I'm glad you asked, because this is exactly explaining the process. All right. Mr. Durham is asking about free leads. Oh my goodness, we need help with free leads. We've sent so many free leads to some of you. Some of you have tapped out and said no more. Brenda, maybe you could respond back. How many free leads do you think we've sent you, Brenda, in the month of August, for example? I'm curious what she would say. But anyone that wants free leads, all we ask is get your first client under contract to show that you know how to do these 4 steps, and then we can put you into the round robin for free leads. I'm waiting for Brenda to respond, but yes, we have an abundance of, oh, Brenda says 102. We have sent Brenda 102 free leads in the month of August, according to her records, which I assume is correct. So yes, you're all welcome to be in the flow of free leads, but you need to get 1 client under agreement, show that you know how to follow this process. All right, so that answered Tony's question. All right, Angela has a question, and Angela is one of our new branches. Welcome aboard, Angela. She says, or asks, when a client chooses the payment plan, which is here, she asked about the schedule. Yes, so we had a separate training on this, but I'll paraphrase. So we've had to standardize the payment plan option, if you will, just because of handling the type of growth we have. So you're going to collect the down payment, send us our half, you keep the other half, of course, because it's a 50-50 split. You're going to have them complete this link, which is for the rest of the financing at 0% interest. Can't complain about that. It's $250 a month, which is very reasonable, and it's due the first of each month. That's structured. So we had a separate training on that, and you can go back and refer to that if you need, but that's the quick answer to your question. All right, so Timothy has a follow-up question. I guess he's a little nervous about production. So yes, as a branch, under the branch license, each of you promised after a 30-day grace period, which is what we said a moment ago, to help at least 2 clients a week, 8 clients a month. If you're not hitting that, something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong, because there's some of you doing 50 a week, and for any of you to not be able to do 2 a week, there's something desperately wrong. And we need to problem solve on that and figure out what in the world is wrong, because there's just too much opportunity, too much demand for what you and I do. But yes, the branch license agreement was predicated that you'd come in, and after a 30-day grace period, that you would be active, and active is defined as at least 2 clients a week, 8 clients a month after that 30-day grace period. So please be cognizant of that. It should not be a challenge. It should not be a problem. Just as I started this Zoom training, we want each of you to make at least $100,000 a month. And that math is real easy to accomplish. If you're generating 12,000 gross income, doing 8 clients a month, I know that's 96,000, but that's a rounding error away from 100,000. So that's what we want. We want branches that are successful and generating at least $100,000 a month. So with that being said, let us know what we can do to assist and support, or contact us. Information's here. It hasn't changed. And tomorrow we have a real good training. We're going to put together and finalize a new certification course. So those of you that want to go through 10 specific modules that get you certified as a small business finance specialist, you'll be able to do that. There's no cost, of course, and it essentially brings together the core training that we believe you need to know as a branch office. So we'll be announcing that tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye.